We as LRT Sports are very glad to have Dr. Gary Cramer with us today. He has been a life coach for the athletic department at the University of Alabama since 2003 and is responsible for coaching athletes for life off the field. Among Alabama athletes, he is widely known as Coach Cramer. So thank you, Coach, for being here.
Thank you, Dan. It's a great privilege to be with you and to spend some time with your organization.
Let's start off by talking about your role at the University of Alabama. So as a trained professional such as yourself, how do you help athletes achieve their personal life goals? Do only football players come to you, or is the service available for any sport on campus?
Great question. Let me answer the last question first, that I'm there for all athletes. And while I spend a lot of time with the football program because of the athletic community, it's probably 1/5 of our athletic family when you consider the amount of athletes on that team, 130 athletes on the team. So it takes a lot of my time, but I'm there to serve all of our campus and all of our student athletes. We don't value a sport above another when it comes to doing life well. We believe that helping our student athletes do life well off the field and make good decisions off the field helps them maximize their performance better on the field. And I think that's true of our coaches as well. So not only do I seek to invest my life in our student athletes, but I spend a lot of time with our coaches, coaching the coaches in life. And, I call upon 58 years now of life, 36 years of marriage, most of my life spent in the world of sport and competition, and having competed myself in college and been a collegiate athlete, it gives me a lot of different perspectives as to stage of life and what I was thinking at the time, and how I can help folks who are at any stage of life, from student athlete freshman to international athlete. I've been to 23 different countries, coached in most of those places myself, a sport of some type, and then have served in a number of capacities with coaches. So yeah, we're there for everybody. It's a job that is very unique. I don't know of another guy like me out there doing exactly what I do, to be very frank with you. And I think, but that doesn't surprise me, because in many cases, the University of Alabama has been cutting edge on a lot of things in the world of sport, and they try to stay ahead of the curve. I think people have tried to mimic it, copy it, imitate it, but I think it's largely contingent upon who you have in the role to do it, and as to whether or not it succeeds or not.
Yeah. So now let's imagine an athlete who's struggling with academics, or with balancing academics and athletics. If you would have 2 tips you could give that athlete, what would that be?
Wow. You said, let's imagine. I don't have to imagine that. I see that every day. I think what I would say there is that, and part of what we help them with, part of what we seek to help them with, is realizing all of life is a juggling act, correct? Mm-hmm. And if they think life is demanding now with a sport and with academics, wait until they're married and have 3 kids and a job and deadlines. And so I'm not belittling that. And I can always keep that in perspective, right? Because I know where they're going to be, but I try to listen to where they are. Yeah. And so while it's very important for me to prepare them for what we call the 5th quarter, life after sport, when the 4th quarter ends, I think it's important to help them navigate those waters now. And so they're going to have to make choices. Everybody. And so when people tell me they don't have time to do something, I'm quick to help them understand they really do have time. Everybody has the same amount of time, right? 24 hours or 86,400 seconds in every day that I choose to use in a certain way. And so most of the time, it's not that a student athlete doesn't have time to balance those things. It's that he chooses not to use his time wisely or well. And so that's a growth process. So I would say first and foremost to that student athlete, let's hit the pause button and say, yes, you do have time. So that would be my first thing. Second thing is you're going to make time for the thing you value.
Yeah.
You are not going to not do what you don't want to do.
Yeah.
You're going to do it. And so we just have to let you see how important your academics are to your athletic career at the university. And so, and I think there's another element there. They're also balancing the social aspect, right, Daniel? You know, having been a student athlete yourself, that, you know, there's these three aspects. There's this social component, there's the academic component, and there's this component of your sport. And you know, if I'm Mr. Party guy and hanging out with my friends too much, I'm probably not doing good either in academics or sport. You know, I think it was the track coach at Villanova who one time said, at any given time, you can only be successful of two of those three venues. So you have to make a choice as to which one you're going to sacrifice to do that. So, and there's seasons in the life of an athlete, and there's balance there. You know, an athlete that just goes to practice and has his nose in the books probably needs to have a night out and hang out with his friends and play some Fortnite or Xbox or something. But he can't play it every night.
Yeah.
And he can't play it 8 hours a day. He's going to have to balance that. So those would be the two things. One, we all have the same amount of time. Two, you will do what you think what you value.
Yeah. So
I just want to help you value the things that are going to keep you here and let you have success.
So you mentioned the social side of college. Now, if there is an athlete on a big team, such as football, for example, that doesn't seem to fit into the team culture, what advice do you give those athletes?
Wow, that is a $1 million question. The biggest thing I would seek to help them understand is they are the culture. In other words, because they're a part of our program now, we want to embrace who they are in the context of our team culture. I try to help our athletes understand that while we all want to get to the same destination, which is to win a championship, right? I mean, you would have loved to have won an NCAA championship, an SEC championship. We all like to win, right? That's the one common dominant, to have that ring on our finger. We all like to win, but what we try to help them understand is that everyone in this locker room is not motivated toward the same goal by the same things.
Yeah.
I mean, the ring is great, but some are motivated because, man, I want to have fun as we do this journey, right? I want to have a good time. I want to be, I want the locker room to be family oriented, and I want us to laugh and joke around together and really spend time together. And then there's others who, man, they're checklist people, man. They're just so disciplined. They're motivated because this is another thing on their checklist. And then there's other people that bring to the table the fact that they don't just want to win a championship. They want to win a championship the way that no one else has won one. They want to win it with perfection. They want to do it right. So their motivation every day that they go to practice is, let's practice right today.
Yeah.
So you got all these guys coming to practice. One of them's coming with the mentality that says, I want to motivate everybody to do it right today. If we don't do it right, we've wasted our time. Another guy's coming saying, I'm coming to practice today. I hope these guys have a good time today at practice, because if we haven't had a good time, it's a waste of our time. And then you got this other guy coming and said, man, you know what? We just got to get in the grind, and we're going to grind today and we're going to get it done.
Yeah.
And so you have to help guys see that we're all wired differently, and we try to help them embrace what everyone else brings to the table. Mm-hmm. And that's why I go back to the fact that I try to help that athlete understand that he's not trying to fit into a culture. He is the culture now. Mm-hmm. And we want him to bring his strengths, how he's wired, who he is, how he thinks, to the table, because you know what? It's going to make us all better in the journey.
Yeah, that's awesome. So since you mentioned that there's a diverse set of athletes and mentalities on a team, would you say that there are some general elements that a good teammate has, or would you say it's really dependent on the person and what the person wants out of the team?
Another great question, and these are good questions. I think if as far as a teammate, I would say that a good teammate, and what I try to help guys become and gals become. I know that we have shaped a good teammate when that teammate wants for another teammate to have something as badly as he wants it. In other words, the best teammates are the ones that would take great joy in Daniel Kober having success. Those are the best teammates, right? Those are championship quality guys.
Yeah.
And I'm not original with that. I heard Mike Tyson say that one time in one of our meetings with our football team. And he defined a champion as somebody who wants the guy next to him to have what he wants as badly as he wants it.
Yeah.
And I think that goes, and I think I would say it, I would take it a step further, and I would say a champion is somebody who is able to celebrate a teammate's victory as much as he would celebrate his own.
Yeah.
And that to me is what a great teammate is. It doesn't mean we always agree, because I mean, we're here to sharpen each other, right? We have different perspectives, and we have different, that's why you have a coach that helps bring all those diverse opinions and thoughts. And I mean, that's where you go and trust your coaches, because I mean, he wants to get you to that destination. But with our differences and with our uniquenesses, I think we can still be on each other's team. And I find that those who are winners, those who are champions, are those who can celebrate the success of another.
Yeah. And
not feel like he's been cheated. I mean, I just watched Lance Armstrong, 1 and 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I hope he's changed a lot, but as a teammate, that guy was a freaking loser.
Mm-hmm.
He could not stand someone else to have success.
Yeah.
And if they had more success than he, I mean, I'm just watching what they showed me, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just going off of that. If that's true, and of course they had some of his teammates interviewed, he was the worst teammate I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In a team sport. And you cannot win Tour de France by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, so I really respect those other guys on the team that buried his ego. They had to bury his ego to do their job. And I'm sure it would have been a lot more fun for them to be able to be domestiques for somebody who would appreciate their victories.
Yeah. That's actually sorry.
I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I just watched it.
Yeah. That's something I kind of noticed myself too throughout my 4 years at Alabama on the swim team, because I feel like the more I stepped into a leadership position, the more I wanted the team to succeed. And originally when I came on campus coming from an individual sport, I was really trying to perform to my individual best to reach my own potential. But I realized that the power of a team culture in college is to help others reach their potential, because eventually that will also lift you up. That's but right. Now, since you mentioned Alabama football, what would be 2 main characteristics Coach Saban is looking for when he is looking for someone to compete for his team?
I would say number 1 is teachability, somebody who's coachable. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's open to change. I think that's with any sport, but I think especially in football, I think the athletes who become great in college are the ones who are able to accommodate and change the things that gave them success as a high school kid or as a gymnasium kid, right? It's the athlete who knows what got him here And while it got him there, he comes to grips with the fact that what got him to become a great high school athlete is not going to get him to the next level.
Yeah.
That he is going to have to make changes to become a great collegiate athlete. And I would say the same thing happens in the pros. But I think when that happens, Daniel, I think an athlete has to be committed to the fact and know that the process is such that in making that transition, and here's the hard part, I'm probably going to get worse before I get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had success by doing it this way. Coach comes in and says, look, I want to make you better. He changes something. Maybe it's my stroke. Maybe it's my tackling form. Maybe it's my if I'm a baseball player, my batting, how I hit. And so he changes something in me, knowing what I can become. That's the value of a great coach at that level.
Yeah.
Because he sees what I can be that I'm not yet.
Yeah.
But in making that transition, I'm going to get worse. It always happens. Just like you're teaching me German, right? The only way I'm going to get better is to get worse.
Yeah.
By falling on my face and failing but at least trying.
Yeah.
Right? Because I could stick with where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And get by when I travel to Germany. Right? I'd be okay.
Yeah, definitely.
But I don't want to be okay. I want to be fluent. I want it to be part of me, so I could say I'm good enough, or I could say no, let's take it to the next level. And that's going to give you a lot of laughs because you're going to laugh at some of the things I say. It's going to cause you to shake your head and say, we've covered this 5 times, coach. Mm-hmm. You know, the nominative adjectives get these endings. When are you going to – and it's the same thing with football. So I say 1 is teachability. 2 is a forward-looking perspective, not one that looks in the rearview mirror. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is if you're looking in the rearview mirror focused on what you've already done, you're not looking forward.
Yeah.
You're still living that. You're still living in the past, and it's time to live in the future. Yeah. And the biggest thing for every freshman athlete hitting our campus is to help them as nicely as I can. I try to tell them that nobody cares what you did in high school anymore. we don't. I mean, I'm saying that very flippantly. Yeah. I really don't mean that I don't care. I just mean that everybody did great things in high school here. Mm. Every swimmer who's at the University of Alabama was pretty good.
Yeah.
They wouldn't be here. So for you to tell them about your high school is so uncool. And so we can tell a freshman a mile away because he's still telling the stories about how great he was his senior meet and how many records he set. And then he gets in the pool and he's trying to figure out if he can still swim, right? And wonder, geez, what happened to my talent? And the fact of the matter is he's at a different level. But the problem is he's still looking backwards, not forward. Yeah. And he has to go right back and say, okay, just like he was a freshman in high school, I need to start over again. And you know what? The things that maybe even came easy for me in high school, they're probably not going to come as easy here because now the progression of improvement is not going to be this great. The difference is going to be making steps of improvement that are maybe this great. Mm-hmm. And working just as hard and even harder to move this far versus this far in my times. And so I think that's a big deal to look through the windshield, not the rearview mirror.
Awesome. Thank you. So I feel like Coach Saban is a person that a lot of people try to get to know a little more, try to understand more. So since you know him, if you had one word to describe him, you can think about that now too, and we can go back to that later.
I got it. It's so easy.
All right. Okay. Then why the word and what is the word?
One, I think as a preface to that, I think it's interesting to note that in Coach Saban's entire career, there might be one person who has actually spent more time with him in his workplace than me, and that's Linda Leone, his secretary. Apart from her, there are maybe three of us, Jeff Allen, myself, and Cedric Burns, who have, because this is the longest Coach Saban's ever been in one place.
Yeah.
So it's a very real possibility that in his professional life, I've had the privilege of being one of those people who have spent the most time with him.
That's awesome.
And gotten to observe him more than anybody in the kinds of settings that we're in. And of course, a lot of things are revealed in terms of competition, right? But I would say one word that describes Coach would be I want to use two words because they kind of go together, but a myopic focus. I have never seen anybody with such focus.
Yeah.
It's laser. It's not a shotgun. If you're an outdoorsman or a sportsman, there's two kinds of guns. There's a shotgun that sprays pellets and people hunt birds with because it sends out a wide array. And then there's rifles that are very, Coach Saban has rifle focus. He has myopic focus. He has laser focus. And outside of that focus, it's very easy to say that they're probably blinders. Yeah. I think one time he said it jokingly, but I'm not so sure it was a joke. I think we had an election going on where we were voting for the President of the United States. And we also had it in the middle of football season. And somebody asked him about the election. And his response was, "Oh, there's an election?" I would say that there are a couple other words that I would throw in there with that. Focus would be number one, though. But I think authenticity, he is who he is. Yeah. I never have to imagine that he's someone else other than who he is. Awesome. And consistent. He is consistent. Now, it may bother me sometimes that he's consistent as he is, but he is consistent. He is the most consistent individual I think I've ever met in my life. Yeah. In terms of what he does every day that he thinks is important to his life.
So that was awesome. But now going a little back to recruiting in general, now with the whole pandemic going on, if you're a high school athlete, we can talk about swimming right now or any other sport, but their season got cut short and they're not able to put themselves out there as much as people were able to in the past. What would you recommend those athletes to do, and how can they get on the coach's radar?
Wow. Yeah, I think obviously this is these times are unprecedented, right? I mean, what's going on, and I feel extremely bad for a high school athlete like that didn't get to finish his high school season per se, or finish their final year because of the pandemic, as well as some of the folks that are at university. I feel bad for those guys. Yeah. Because it's almost like you didn't bring closure to a certain part of your life. It's just kind of still dangling out there. That's tough on people. But so we're in unprecedented times. I think it's gonna. I think that lack of closure is just gonna raise up a strong generation. The next generation of athletes is going to be even stronger and grow from it because they've had to endure it. Mm-hmm. And I think they're going to I hope they value team better than they did before, because they've been without it. Yeah. And so those are my hopes. But I think, like anything, and like I would tell you, even in good times, Daniel, nobody cares about your future like you care about your future, right? Except maybe your mom and dad. But I say that, I would say this to any athlete: don't wait to be found. Put yourself in front of those who you want to be in front of. And what I mean by that is if you can get to the pool, and if you do have some film, if you don't have some film, go make some film. Have somebody film you on their phone, mm-hmm. so that you can send that to the coach at the University of Alabama swim team, or the gymnastics coach at Stanford, whoever. But you're probably going to have to take more initiative than athletes before you have ever had to take, because you're living in a different time than they lived.
Yeah.
But I think even in good times, I tell athletes, don't wait to be found for them to find you. You take the initiative to make that contact. And you know what? Nobody wants to miss out on a great athlete.
Yeah.
And so now you have to be ready for, and I think too, as you do that, if there's someone you trust, Daniel, like, and what I would say is, Coach, if I sent something to say, Coach Saban or the recruiting coordinator at Alabama, right? Or if I were sending something to our swim coach at Alabama, I would say, Coach, I would be interested in continuing my swimming career at the University of Alabama. I've sent you some film that would you please take a look at it and let me know if you would be interested in talking with me.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, if I'm not at the level that I could swim at the University of Alabama, what level or ability do you think I might have?
Okay.
Because if you really want to know truth, right? I mean, I think if you're really serious about this, because I've done that. Like, I've had friends tell me, hey, my kid would love to play basketball at Alabama. My son would love to play football. So I've literally gone in and looked at the film, and then I've given it to one of our other coaches and said, hey, will you look at this film? Would we be interested in this kid? Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, right? If they're not, I say, well, what level do you think this kid could play in? Do you think he could play SEC? Do you think he could play basketball in the SEC? And so, like, for instance, my own nephew, he's a 6'5" basketball player out of Charlotte, North Carolina. Okay? All city team, stud muffin. Okay? His dad played collegiate basketball. Great kid, good student. I took his film, came in. We took it to our basketball guys. And I said, guys, will you look at this? This is my nephew. Where can he play? And this is their response. Coach, if he came here, he'd be like our 12th, 13th, or 14th guy. We'd offer him a walk-on. He would get in at the end of games on the kind we're leading by 20.
Yeah.
He would be on our scout team at practice. But if he came to our place, this would be his role. Okay?
Yeah.
I said, where do you think he could play comfortably and start? They said, man, NAIA or Division II.
Yeah.
Okay? Or small Division I.
Yeah.
So good player, right? Great player. So I go back and I tell my nephew, I said, here's what they're saying to you. I said, get ready for this, because you're not going to want to hear this, but it's reality. And there's no sense wasting your time. I mean, you could come here and walk on, but you could go somewhere else where they really, really need you and want you. And I always say, go where they want you, because they're going to treat you the best. You're going to have a great experience. So bottom line is, after all that, Daniel, he decided to go to a really prestigious Division III school that is known for their academics.
Yeah.
And play basketball. So his sport is still working for him. It's helping to accommodate for, everybody. The key here, by the way, is to graduate debt-free. Okay? Yeah. That is a big key for being a student athlete.
Yeah.
Because only a very, 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 how many times do I need to say that, small percentage go to make a lot of money at the next level. Mm-hmm. Okay? So, especially in a sport like swimming or I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, So I think my nephew, looking at the data and being critically evaluated and open to that critique, was able then to move on and make good choice to where now he's going to go to a great – I mean, I couldn't get into the school that he's going to get into, and I don't know if he'd get in without basketball. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But because of basketball, he's going to get a great education and, man, be a part of an alumni network that has had phenomenal leaders in our country over the years.
Yeah.
And so you say, well, He could have played SEC basketball. Yeah, about 6 minutes in his whole career he could have. Or he could go somewhere and have a blast, be a part of a team, win some championships, and get a lot of playing time and get a great education. So I say take the initiative. Know that nobody cares about your education and where you're going to spend your future more than you do. And realize that the best question you can ask is, in looking at my film, Coach, where do you think I could play?
Yeah. So
because coaches will be honest with you there if you ask that question.
That's good. That's good to hear. So you mentioned the next level a little bit. If you are one of these athletes in one of the sports where you can actually become a pro, what advice would you give a college student athlete who is looking into a professional career post-college?
I would say to that athlete, who's even the most gifted athlete that I know is, I mean, there are certain guys you just know they're pro. They're going pro, you know. But I would say my first thing would be let's sit down and prepare for life after you get cut. Because everybody gets cut someday. Yeah. Everybody does. It doesn't matter. I got cut from Little League Baseball when I was 9 years old. That just showed me that I probably wasn't going to go pro in that sport. And the beautiful thing is I switched over to I started playing soccer. And little I know that when I got cut from baseball, that I was going to become a soccer player that would be one of the first athletes to get a scholarship to play sports in college and get my whole way paid for. Yeah. So what you got to prepare for that day when the pain comes, because everybody's going to get cut at some point, but it shouldn't devastate us if we're ready. Yeah. And so let's be ready for when they call you in and give you your pink slip and say, we no longer need your services here. We just drafted a new running back. We just drafted a new offensive lineman. And so it's been great having you here. You've done a great job for the last 7 years, or in the case of a running back, the average life running back. To be honest with you, I mean, kickers and long snappers last the longest, okay? And there's a reason, because they don't get hit as much. Yeah. But even there, I would say the most important decision that we need to concern ourselves with is, what are you going to do and who are you going to be when they call you, or when you show up at your locker and there's a pink slip on your locker? And they don't even call you in. They just say you're cut. Yeah. And you've given everything. Hopefully they would do it in a more honorable way, but it's business and they don't sometimes. Yeah. I've heard some horror stories about how guys got cut. Yeah. So I would say take advantage of the opportunities you have in college to get what no one will ever take from you, and take classes that will not just get you through, but will cause you to flourish after you get cut. Yeah. That's awesome. I love that advice, because it's something that you can always look back at, you can always use in your life, and athletics will end at some point. There's no. And Daniel, I mean, I say everybody gets cut, but I mean, you're getting cut this year, right? Because there's no longer any more eligibility for you. Yeah. And going pro is not your option right now. Yeah. So realistically, you got cut, bro. And the beautiful, and you know what? Here's the thing. Here's what's wild. Even the greatest end up getting cut. Yeah. Michael Jordan knew the game had passed him by. Some guys have the privilege of cutting themselves. Yeah. Right? But even the crowd that cheered you so valiantly on to victory, the same crowd, I know this, the same crowd that is cheering like crazy because Nick Saban is on our sideline will be the same crowd that can and will at some point say, he's too old to recruit. He can't connect with the kids anymore. He needs to step aside. Yeah. So who are we then? What will we do then? And how will we do our life then? Yeah. So Coach Saban's had the great fortune of being in the game for a long time. Coach Bryant did the same thing, but they did the same thing to Coach Bear Bryant. They said the game has passed him by. He no longer can relate to the kids he can't recruit. And it's kind of crazy, isn't it? But at some point, John Wooden, UCLA. I'm talking about the great ones. Some of them hang up the cleats themselves, but others feel the wrath of the fans before they do. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But we all get cut. I got cut 9 years old from baseball. I'm good. At some point, I got cut from soccer too.
Yeah.
I mean, I played a little semi-pro after college, but you know what? I was not anywhere near to getting to play for Werder Bremen or Mönchengladbach, right?
Yeah.
That's another level, and those guys are phenomenally gifted.
Yeah. But by the way, thanks for reminding me that I technically got cut from swimming.
It's helping you out.
Yeah. Eligibility is over. Next steps are coming now. So thank you very much for all of this.
You're going to be just fine. Yeah.
Thank you very much for all of this already. I have two little more fun questions for you now. You can just think about it a little bit. Just give me your first idea, whatever you kind of feel answering them. So you mentioned the sideline. You mentioned the spectators in the stadium. What was the craziest thing you've observed during a game a parent or an athlete do?
Craziest thing observed in a game that a parent – how about if I gave you the craziest thing that I did?
Yeah, that's perfect.
I've seen parents jump the fence to come to the coach and call and yell at him. I've seen that live.
Yeah.
Now this was high school, but I would say one of the craziest things that I did was, again, it was in my years when I was a life coach at Miles College, HBCU. Like I was telling you, it was a historically black college university. So on the entire campus, especially on the football team, there was, as far as Anglo, the white Anglo-American race, it was me and our kicker. For whatever. So it's my first game, and of course, everybody's wondering who this light-skinned guy is on the sideline of our university. And I look up in the crowd, and I actually read one guy's lips who says, I probably shouldn't do it here, but he says, "Who?" I can read his lips. "Who the blank is that?" But he ain't saying blank. And why is he here? And so I've been brought in by the head coach, because we were friends, and his coaching staff, I just poured into them. And at the same time, my boys, I had sons who were seventh grade and fifth grade, maybe sixth grade and fourth grade. So 12 years old, 10 years old. And I used to take them to the games with me. So not only am I on the sidelines, but so are these two little white kids are on the sideline too, watching Miles College football. And they're playing against Tuskegee. It's a big rival. I mean, we're playing Albany State this particular game. Albany State was loaded with great athletes. And I'll never forget, we were whooping their tails. I mean, we were just absolutely whipping. And they had a player on their team. He was number 21. I still remember it like it was yesterday. He was a linebacker. And if you know anything about linebackers, most of them aren't wired to be the nicest people in the world, okay? They're wired to take your head off in a game. They're wired to kill the quarterback and to pursue him and make him experience pain. And so 21, every time he would make a tackle, he would stand over our guy.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it will come across on the film, but he'd do this little shoulder shake. Now, it took me a long time to be able to do that, but he would do this little shoulder shake. And he was doing that, but we're kicking their tails, okay?
Yeah.
And we're gaining, if you know football, it's, 10 yards on a first down, 10 yards on first down. We're gaining 7 yards on first down. So it's not like they're making great plays. So, and he's tackling our guys. He's standing over them. And about the third, and I don't like that. I'm the kind of guy that is very, on the sports field, just take care of your business.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not the flamboyant, celebrative type. I'm the kind of guy that if you score a touchdown, take the ball and just give it to the official and get back on the sideline. Let's go again. So 21's doing this for Albany State. Third quarter's coming around. We're kicking their tails. He makes a tackle in front of our bench. And Daniel, I'm talking like maybe 3 feet from me.
Yeah.
He gets up and we gained 7 yards on first down and gets up and stands over our player. And I stepped up. And I said, 21, do you ever put a helmet on anybody? Or do you always arm tackle? Now, that's not a compliment. Because we always taught our guys to go through them. When you tackle a guy, you put your helmet right in their chest, go right through them. Yeah. So if you're grabbing with your arms, you're not doing this, right?
Yeah.
And so when you say, are you going to ever put a helmet on anybody, or do you always arm tackle? That is like a low blow. Okay?
Yeah.
But you have to understand, I've got 28 tubas blaring in my ear. The band is just going crazy. Everybody's yelling. The intensity of the competition is elevated because it's Albany State, and this is a big deal for Miles College. And I got this guy that's showboating over my player. And in that moment, Daniel, I forgot who I was. And that's when I pointed at him. I said, do you ever put a helmet on anybody, or do you always arm tackle? He gets up. I mean, he looks at me, comes toward me, points at me. He's up in my grill, and he goes, I'll put a helmet on you right now, right here. And if not for two of my linebackers who stepped in between me and that player, I might not be here talking to you today. But two of my players stepped up in between them, and one of my players said, you won't come after Coach Cramer. Not now, not ever.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm standing there going, whoa. What? And the official's looking at all this. Like, he's like, should I throw a flag? Should I throw a penalty? What's going on here? and our head coach is like down the sidelines looking like, and it taught me a great lesson that we all have the capability at times to step out of character.
Yeah.
And it was a very good reminder that I needed to get back to who I was. And I'd gotten caught up in the moment. I'd gotten caught up in the competition. I'd gotten caught up in the battle that was going on in front of me. And in the immediate, I lost track of the big picture.
Yeah.
And I think we're all capable of doing that from time to time.
Definitely.
And it was a great reminder to me, and I've never forgotten it. And after the game, I did talk to the kid and apologize to him, and because he's probably a great young man.
Yeah.
But if he played for me, he wouldn't be doing a shoulder shake. Okay. Because none of our guys did.
Yeah. But that's something I definitely understand too. Sometimes when I'm competing, it's just something where you need to like find your control again.
You got to remember the big picture sometimes, and remember that the moments are great, but you can't like get caught up in it.
Yeah. So let's finish up with one final question. We talked a lot about Alabama athletics. Now the question I want to ask you is, if you have the opportunity to coach any other college team, and don't say Alabama. Alabama is out of the play. Any other college team, which college team would it be and why?
Wow. I've never been asked that question.
I've never been asked that question either.
Wow. That is a $1 million question. Um,
If you can't come up with an answer for that right now, I can ask you my other fun question that I kind of saved up.
yeah, I think that I would enjoy, because I tend to, just the way I'm wired to, I think I would enjoy somewhere in the Ivy League, maybe, where I had that kind of student interaction, because that's what I enjoyed. I enjoy those students at Alabama. I enjoy my thinkers, guys like you that are thinkers but have a good time too. I mean, but they're more than just athletes, and they're thinking about life after athletics, because most of those guys are not going to go pro in the Ivy League schools. I think I would enjoy engaging them, and walking them through life, giving them the tools that would give them the same kind of success that I would do at Alabama.
Yeah.
But to be very frank with you, I think it's fair to say that having been at Alabama for the past 15, 16 years, I can't imagine myself anywhere else. Even though I've consulted with a number of campuses, because there's a lot of things we do well that I want to see everybody else do well. And as you know, I mean, I was on the phone for an hour and a half this morning with the Missouri coaches, University of Missouri, pouring into them, their strength and conditioning staff. And I mean, I'm not giving up our secrets. I'm just giving them life wisdom stuff, because I think it's worth everyone doing life well. Football is another whole aspect of things. But I think life is pretty much the same for everybody doing life well. So how do we do that well? And so, I think that would be that's a great question. When I went to Alabama, this is the internet. When they asked me, they had to ask me 3 times to leave Miles College to go to Alabama. Did you know that?
3 times?
Yeah, because I said no, because I loved being at Miles College at the HBCU I was at, because I love those guys. And, I'm the kind of guy that wherever I'm at, I'm going to be all in.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking to move on to the next job. I'm not looking to move to the next place. I've never been a stepping stoner. And that's what's given me such great privilege when I go to your home country, and I'm coaching German players. It doesn't matter to me. When I'm in Germany, I'm all in with those kids. They'll never come to the SEC, some of them. Most of them will never step foot on an SEC football field. Most of them will never step foot in the States to play football.
Yeah.
But I want them to have the same experience in the brief time that I have with them that my guys get to have with me here. I'm all in, and I want to pour into them with the same kind of passion. Yeah. And they'll never go pro. And their skill level might never reach even what a high school level is here in the States. But that's so I've never been a guy who thought, I think that's why I've had the privilege of being where I'm at, and why we've had such success, because that's my mentality. I do the same thing with the walk-on players as I do with the 5-star highly recruited guys. I'm the same guy.
Yeah.
I want them to have the same experience. I want them to be prepared just as well.
Yeah.
And I do the same thing with a swimmer that I would with a football player. That tells you something. But it doesn't matter if you're a rower, I'm still going to go all in. I just feel like that's why we are who we are. And that's why I say my role is very unique. And that's why I say a lot of what I do is really contingent upon finding the right person who's wired in a different way. Because there's a lot of people that would just like to work with the elite athletes. There's a lot of people who would just like to work at Alabama. It didn't matter to me. No, I love Alabama because that's my sphere of influence. And I mean, you've got a picture of me, or the swimming coaches sent me a picture of, I think it was the 4x100 relay when we won it the first year. And I'm in the stands, and somebody got a frozen shot of me cheering. And I'm up off the seat, hands raised in the air, screaming my head off.
Yeah, I appreciate
the
that.
Same intensity that I would be on the sidelines of scoring a touchdown against Clemson in the national championship game.
Yeah,
because those are my guys out there getting it done.
Yeah,
So
I think.
What's your last question? Sorry.
Oh, that was the last question.
Oh, I thought you had another fun question.
The other one is something that I would think is always kind of fun to ask. It's a very simple question, has nothing to do with football. But would you rather be a great dancer or a great singer?
That's a great question, because what you don't know about me, and I'm not saying this boastfully, but I am a pretty good singer.
Actually?
Actually, I was the number one in our country. We have competitions amongst the 50 states.
Yeah.
And I was the number one tenor for 3 years in the state of Pennsylvania.
Ooh.
And went on to become the number one in the nation. So
I did not know that.
In fact, my first year of college, while I played sport, I had an option to take money from the team or to take money for my voice. And my first year of college was actually paid for because of my voice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so in my senior yearbook, they always have a section in American high schools. What are your ambitions? What do you see yourself doing after high school? And my ambition was, of course, at that time in high school, I would like to be a professional soccer player. Right. And so what the yearbook said I was going to do, because it's always funny, right? They say, this is what you want to do, but this is what we think you're going to do. And what the yearbook said I was going to do was deliver singing telegrams, which I thought was pretty comical. But I got to do both. And that's how I met Wendy, actually my wife. We both sang, and she's a phenomenal singer as well. She's traveled all over the world. We both made albums together. Like, we've made albums.
Oh.
And been on teams and traveled the world. She's been to Israel, Switzerland because of her voice.
Yeah.
And so I guess I would have to say, Daniel, I would like to be a better dancer.
So you have the whole package. That's awesome. No, I love that. Yeah. Coach Cramer, thank you very much for doing this interview with us with LRT Sports. We really appreciate your time. That was great advice. I think one little statement that could sum a lot of the stuff up that you said is going all in and doing life well. So that was it. That was the interview. I'm very happy that we got to do this interview with you, and I hope to see you soon.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. What a great privilege, and good luck to you.
Thank you.